Let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks. This team is moving in a brand new direction. They have hired their brand new head coach in Mike MacDonald, who was the former defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. He just did a tremendous job with the Baltimore Ravens defense. Yes, I do understand that defense had Roquan Smith and also Patrick Queen as well, and great defensive players, but it came from his mindset. This is a Seattle Seahawks team that has not been able to play good defense over the last couple of seasons underneath Pete Carroll, and that was one of the reasons that they wanted to move off from Pete Carroll. I believe that Pete Carroll was a very good head coach, even an excellent head coach with the Seattle Seahawks at the time, but you're going in a brand new direction with a younger head coach that can resonate with these guys on the defensive side of the ball. Their offense wasn't perfect, but when you look at their offense, it wasn't a problem to why they were losing football games. They did go 7 quarters in the middle of the season without scoring an offensive touchdown, but a lot of that was because of the offensive line injuries. You had Charles Cross that went down early in the season. You had Abraham Lucas that went down early in the season as well. Both of those guys missed time after week 1 in the Los Angeles Rams game, and the offense wasn't the same. And they still found a way to go out there and defeat the Detroit Lions and have good victories on the season. And you go back and look at what Geno Smith was able to do last season compared to this season. He wasn't the same quarterback, but he was still a very good quarterback for this team. 20 touchdowns and 9 interceptions are not bad numbers for a team that heavily dependent on their offense to save them. And I also look at their offense. It's going to be a bit different here. Shane Waldron is no longer the offensive coordinator with this team. He is now with the Chicago Bears. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with that spot, with that position, and how would the next coach want to use Geno Smith in these weapons, because the offense is all world. When you have a healthy Abraham Lucas and a healthy Charles Cross, that's a very good tackle duo in the NFL. And Abraham Lucas missed a lot of games this season. That's why they had to bring in Jason Peters, who is an aging veteran at this point in time and is not the same tackle that he was years before with the Philadelphia Eagles. But he did come in. He gave it the best that he could. I look at a guy like Abraham Lucas. If he can stay fully healthy, they can run the football better as well, because you have 2 very good running backs with this team. Kenneth Walker III averaged 4 yards a carry, 8 rushing touchdowns, 905 rushing yards on the season. And Zach Charbonnet is a very solid running back as well. 4.3 yards a carry, 462 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. So they have good weapons in the backfield. You have DK Metcalf, who is still one of the best wide receivers in the game as well. I really like DK Metcalf, 1,114 receiving yards and 8 receiving touchdowns. He will have some plays here and there that make you scratch your head and say, what's going on with DK Metcalf? He needs to calm down in terms of just pushing guys out the way and just getting dumb penalties after the play. If he could keep his temper down, he could be a star wide receiver in the NFL for years to come. And he's been a major rock star for this team in the last couple of years since they drafted him out of Ole Miss. You look at a guy like Tyler Lockett, who is older right now. He'll be 32 years old when next season starts, but he's still a very good wide receiver for this team. 894 receiving yards on the season, 5 receiving touchdowns. And Jackson Smith-Njigba came in as a rookie, looked very good, had the great play against the Philadelphia Eagles, the game-winning touchdown on the offensive end from Drew Lock, 628 receiving yards, 4 receiving touchdowns. He averaged 10 yards a catch. And that's the guy that they expect to develop immensely over the next couple of years. They spent a first-round pick on this kid when they also drafted Devin Witherspoon. So the offensive line can stay healthy and Geno Smith can stay consistent. You have a very solid offense that can go out there and score points. The offense did look bad at points of time throughout the season, but it was due to injuries. But it's going to be very interesting to see what the next offensive coordinator wants to do with this team. This is one of the best head coaching vacancy jobs, in my opinion, because Geno Smith may not be that franchise quarterback that you're looking for, but he is solid enough and he has elite weapons on the outside. And Geno Smith has proven in the past with his first season with this team, you can go to the NFL playoffs with him only if the defense can pan out with this team. This team was close to making the NFL playoffs if their defense was better. We're talking about the defense that was 30th in total defense, 31st in rushing defense, and 20th in passing defense. And being 31st in rushing defense, that was a horrible thing for this team, because what other teams would do, they'll just go out there, run the football, use time and possession. And it puts Geno Smith and the offense in a hard situation. They have to go out there and try to play catch up. Imagine if the other team, the opposing team, is getting the ball at halftime and they're just chewing the clock. You're trying to go out there with a minute left on the clock and you're just trying to throw some deep balls down the field to just get something going so you can just get some points before the halftime starts, because at halftime, that team's going to receive the ball so they can double up on you like how teams have in the past against the Seattle Seahawks. Like I said before, Pete Carroll was not a horrible coach, but his voice was not resonating the same on the defensive end. And you no longer have the defensive coordinator, Clint, who was terrible with this team. He is now somewhere else. He's a defensive line coach for another team. But you look at a guy like Pete Carroll, he's still going to be in that advisory role. It's going to be very interesting to see what he does with the Seattle Seahawks moving forward in the front office. But you look at the defense, they have talented players. You have a guy like Boye Mafe, who's a very good pass rusher with this team, 9 sacks on the season. You have Darrell Taylor, who last season led this team in sacks with 9.5 sacks, and he tied with someone, with Uchenna Nwosu, only 5.5 sacks this season, 1 forced fumble. He's a solid player to have in this team as well. You have Draymond Jones, who's a solid defensive end with this team as well, 4.5 sacks on the season. I like Jaron Reed as well at the defensive tackle spot, 7 sacks on the season, 1 forced fumble. And Leonard Williams was not that star pass rusher that they were looking for and that elite run stopper that they were looking for when they made that trade to get him from the New York Giants. Not saying that he was a horrible player with this team and that he came up short. He just did not come in and fix all the needs that they were looking for at the time. But 5.5 sacks on the season, I do think that he could be a star with this team moving forward, especially with Coach MacDonald coming in and calling the defensive plays right now. And you look at the talent that they have on the back end. I love their corners. Tariq Woolen is a big, speedy corner, very physical, very athletic. And then you also have Devin Witherspoon as well. Those 2 aggressive corners are going to be great in this system with Coach MacDonald. And I look at their safeties. Quandre Diggs is not the same playmaking safety this season that he's been in the past, but he's still a very solid safety with this team. Julian Love has some big moments this season, especially against the Philadelphia Eagles when he got those interceptions off of Jalen Hurts. I look at a guy like Jamal Adams, completely terrible. Jamal Adams has been horrible this season. He can't cover tight ends, and he's not that elite run stopper that he once was. I understand that he dealt with some injuries. He had a quad situation, and he hasn't been the same player since then. It's going to take a lot of money to move off of Jamal Adams, but you may have to go out there and do that because Jamal Adams was just downright terrible this season. We saw the plays that he gave up against the Dallas Cowboys, and we saw the plays that he gave up against San Francisco 49ers. This is a guy that can't stay healthy, and he cannot cover guys in space. Right now, he is a liability on the field. Maybe Coach MacDonald can come in and he can fix this. He can use him similar to how he used Kyle Hamilton with the Baltimore Ravens. But Kyle Hamilton right now is a way better playmaker and a way better safety than Jamal Adams at this stage of his career. So maybe he can come in, he can try to go and recover his career. That's going to be very interesting to see. But the Seattle Seahawks are going to have to go out there and start to try to cut some cap space as well. Moving on from a guy like Jamal Adams would be great for this team. They did trade numerous first-round picks to go out there and get him. He just hasn't panned out with this team. And I do understand it's not all on Jamal Adams, the person. He dealt with some injuries. You say that Pete Carroll wasn't using him correctly. You use him more at the line of scrimmage. But at the same time, you already have a lot of players that play close to the line of scrimmage. You have Jordan Brooks, who's a phenomenal linebacker with this team, dealt with some ankle injuries this season, but he's been a phenomenal tackling machine. And you also have a veteran in Bobby Wagner as well. Do you want to bring him back? Is he a guy that wants to stick around for the later part of his career with the Seattle Seahawks? Was not that same playmaking linebacker this season that he was in the past with the Seattle Seahawks before he left with the Los Angeles Rams. They have good players on the defensive end, but they need to gel it in together. And Uchenna Nwosu missed a good portion of the season dealing with a torn pec. I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to be in a great situation with Coach MacDonald. You're going against 2 top-end coaches in this division in terms of facing Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. When this team got swept by the Los Angeles Rams, that really hurt this team. It really did. In week 1, you had the excuse. Your 2 top tackles went out. They could not block Aaron Donald. But in the second game, when they faced the Rams, that was a bit surprising. And that's when you could tell the Seattle Seahawks front office started to have their heads turned around and say, what's going on here? Why are we getting swept by a team in our own division that we have talent? As we have a roster that's talented, it's theirs, if not more talented than theirs. Pete Carroll got outcoached by Sean McVay. And you look at Kyle Shanahan. The San Francisco 49ers have owned the Seattle Seahawks the last couple of years. So bringing in a young coach with a defensive mindset can come in. He can fix a lot of these things. It's not going to happen overnight, but this could be a team. If they make the right adjustments, they make the right moves, they could be right back in that playoff spot like how they were just a year ago underneath Geno Smith and Pete Carroll. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the Seattle Seahawks hiring Mike MacDonald? Was this the right hire for this team? I can tell you right now, it's better than going out there and getting Dan Quinn. So I love this move. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, each and every last one, guys, stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.